Did Henry, I'm going to pick up where we left off, did Henry Ford have fears for his grandchildren? And if so, why, and what did he do about it?
Yes, I imagine some of the kidnappings that he had heard about made him feel that he'd better watch out for his grandchildren. When his grandchildren ever visited Fairlane, I gather that the chauffeur was armed, and there was always somebody ready to take care of them there. And I think one of the chief responsibilities of Harry Bennett, and maybe one of the reasons that he was associated with gangsters to quite an extent, was probably Henry's instructions to Bennett to take care of Edsel's children, to make certain that they were safe.
Good, good. I want to get back to, or go ahead into the 1930, 31, 32, right around there, which I know you were away at college, but did you ever hear anything about Frank Murphy?
Not a great deal.
Did you ever hear anything good about him, anything bad about him?
What I heard good about him was that he was from a little town where I used to teach school, and even though it was a Republican neighborhood, they thought Murphy was fine.
Really?
And I never heard anything detrimental about him in Detroit.
Good. Around that time when Murphy was mayor, there was the Ford Hunger March.
Yes.
How did you hear about that, and what was your response?
At the time, all I heard about it was through newspapers.
Yeah.
Since that time, I've heard more, and maybe from biased sources. But it was spoken of as a march of communists, and they wondered what they thought they were going to do with Henry Ford's property. It was a little bit doubtful whether they really wanted to come. They said they needed jobs, but some thought, well, they really didn't want work. They wanted money, but they didn't really want to work. That, I think, was an attitude that was harbored in Dearborn area anyway.
What do you suppose they wanted from Henry Ford walking up?
Well, that's it. One would have thought they'd known that Henry Ford was, if he couldn't sell his cars, what was he? Is he going to continue to make cars and then disassemble them and assemble them and disassemble them and that sort of thing? I mean, where were the jobs going to come from? He was hiring as many as he could right then. So I can't quite see the reasoning behind attacking a Rouge plant or coming to try. Henry wasn't there anyway, they knew that. I mean, what were they really trying to do? I mean, one can feel sorry for them, but I don't think that was the tactic that would really benefit them.
Could Henry Ford have stopped the Great Depression?
Oh, no. No, he couldn't have stopped the Depression. But he tried hard. He tried to rectify things in all of western Wayne County. Anyway, he had a tremendous influence on the shallowness of the Depression. In Dearborn, in Highland Park, in St. Clair Shores, in areas where Ford had some influence and could be of some help, the unemployment rate varied. It was about 9% in Dearborn, 9% in Highland Park. It went as high as 29% in some outside Bay City, for instance, was about 29. Clawson was high. A lot of towns around the area, Oakland County, were high. Dearborn, I think Dearborn was the lowest of the group that I saw indicated in the tabulation. It seems to me that Henry Ford is perhaps recognized and appreciated more outside of the Detroit area than he is in Detroit. In places in the United States, other places in the United States like Richmond Hill, Georgia, Berry College, places like that, where he made tremendous contributions, not only to, well, to the community and to the college. And in Europe, I think his outstanding capabilities in manufacturing were recognized there because there were courses given in Fordism at the universities. Fordism here, I think, is interpreted as meaning working people too hard and mass production and the evil things that go with it. But in Europe, in Germany, Latvia, I know, some of those countries, and perhaps in Russia, Fordism was considered something that was, it was an economic theory. It was an economic, not only theory, but it was an economic practice, that if you could make enough things cheaply enough and get them out to the population, that would raise the standard of living in a tremendous degree. And so I think Henry's attitude toward mass production and his efficiency in operations were recognized and appreciated more outside the United States perhaps than in.
His drive to produce more and to produce more efficiently, was that driven because he wanted to make profits? What drove that? What made
No,
him?
I think he's telling the truth when he says he doesn't do this for money. Money isn't the object. Money is the wherewithal to get things done, but the object is to have things for people. And people enjoy getting these things and having them, the higher standard of living.
Good. Good. You're the first person in this film that's articulated that well. Speaking of money and political systems, do you have any memories of your own about how you might have heard of communism in the 1920s, 1930s, or what that might have conjured up for you?
To me, in school, I guess I was rather naive. Communism was a bad word, but I didn't know really what it meant, how the system worked. And I do know that there were, about the time of the Hunger March, there were groups of communists that were meeting in Detroit, and it's said that they were the ones behind the Hunger March. But that seems to have been I don't think communism was recognized where I was. It wasn't debated. It wasn't. It was just something that seemed to be very localized in the city. And as far as I know, in the city of Detroit, I don't know whether there were communists all over the United States having get-togethers and plans to take over some plant or get after some rich person. I don't know.
Good. That's good.
Henry Ford's brother, Will Ford, had tractor distributorships in the very beginning when the Fordson tractor was put on the market here in the United States. And he had a distributorship for Michigan, part of Ohio, part of Indiana, quite a large dealership territory. And he also, on his own, sold implements, because Henry Ford only sold the tractor. He didn't sell any plows, cultivators, that sort of thing. So Will Ford went into the business of supplying Ford dealers with these implements. And it was a nice business. And he was going well. About 1927, he built himself a factory over near the Highland Park factory of Ford Motor Company to build cranes, hoes, rather large implements based on using the Fordson tractor power plant. It was called, these instruments were trademarked Wilford. Well, in 1928, and Will didn't know about this, Henry Ford shifted his tractor manufacturing to Ireland. And so Will was without his power plants for his equipment. And he went broke.